Yeah, welcome to the fifth lecture of the course Operating System. In the last lecture, we have discussed about different types of processors like single general purpose processor, multiprocessor, what is an asymmetric multiprocessor, what is a symmetric multiprocessor, what is a multi-chip multiprocessor, what is meant by a multi-core multiprocessor, and also we have discussed about clustering systems. What is symmetric clustering, what is asymmetric clustering. Okay, all these things we have discussed. So in today's class we'll be discussing about different operating system structures. So basically here we will be discussing how operating system deals with multiple processes. What are the various ways in which operating system deals with the processes that were currently running in a particular computer. Okay. So before starting, I would like to define what is meant by a process and how it differs from a program. A program is a set of instructions. A program is a set of instructions which are given to a computer. Okay. Whereas a process is a program under execution. If a program is currently executing, then it is called as a process. As long as the program is not executing, if it is residing in the disk, then it is called as a program. But if it is if it is if the program was brought into memory and a processor is assigned to the particular program, and if the processor is processing that, then from that moment onwards it will not be called as a program, rather it will be called as a process. Okay. So so what I mean in the sense, uh, a process is a program under execution. Okay. So with this knowledge, let us move into today's topic. So to start with, we will be discussing two types of system. One is a multi-programming system. The other one is a time-sharing concept. Okay, so we'll be discussing multi-programming and the concept of time-sharing. Multi-programming is otherwise called as batch system. It is otherwise called as batch system. So how this multi-programming system works in the sense, you will have a typically a big computer which is something like a mainframe or a supercomputer, which is also called as batch system, and users will be submitting jobs to this computer. Okay, users will be submitting jobs to the computer, and the CPU in that particular computer will take a particular job and it will execute. So it will keep executing that particular job as long as there is no IO requirement. Okay. So say for example, a CPU is executing one particular job, and suddenly the current job what is being executed, it needs some input output operation to be performed. Say it wants something to be printed, or it wants a user input from the keyboard, or it wants a user input from the touchpad. Some user input it requires, or something it want to output through an input output device. Okay. So generally input output operations will take a long time. In such cases, the CPU, what it will do in the sense, it will halt the current job. It will halt the current job which is being executed, and it will take the next job from the job pool or from the job queue, and it will start executing that particular job. Okay. So this is how a multi-programming system or a batch system works. That is, you will have a typically a big computer, and jobs will be submitted to the computer, and the CPU or the processor of that particular computer will will take a particular job and it will execute based on some priority. Okay, and it will keep executing that job as long as there is no IO operation from that particular job. Whenever there is an IO operation, the operating system, what it will do means it will switch the processor to another job. Okay, so whenever there is an IO operation, so whenever there is an IO operation, the operating system will automatically switch the particular processor to another job. Okay, so this kind of system is called as multi-programming system. So this here the switch from one job to another job is controlled only by operating system. It is not controlled by the user. User is not deciding like when the job when the processor should switch from one job to another job. No, it is not decided by the user. User don't have any control on that. It is only decided by the operating system. Okay, so switching surely happens, but when it should switch, that decision is taken by operating system. Such systems are called as multi-programming batch system. Okay, the second type of system is called as time sharing system. Time sharing system is also called as multitasking system. Time sharing system is also called as multitasking system. So this is basically it is a logical extension of multi-programming. So this is also one form of multi-programming. But here what happens in the sense the CPU switches jobs so frequently. The CPU switches jobs so frequently based on the user input. Okay, so based on the user input, the processor will switch from one job to another job. Such systems are called as time sharing systems or multitasking system. So whatever a typical computer which we are using, like a personal computer or a laptop, all these computers they use time sharing. They use the concept called as time sharing or multitasking. Okay, so say currently I am running this PPT. So now the processor is assigned to this particular task. So processor is running this PPT. So assume that immediately I am stopping this PPT and I am switching to something else. Say I'm opening Zoom. Then what happens? Then depending on, so as I am trying to open Zoom, the processor also should start that. Okay, so based on user interaction, the CPU will be switched from one job to another job. So such systems are called as time sharing or multitasking system. I hope you understand the difference. In a multi-programming system, CPU do switch from one job to another job, but that decision is purely taken by operating system, not by user interaction. Whereas in a time sharing system, the CPU switches from one job to another job mostly based on user interaction. Okay, that doesn't mean that in a time sharing system, the operating system do not have any role. Operating system also has a role, but in addition to that, based on the user interaction also, the switching happens. Okay, so and here the response time of this type of system should be very less. It should be typically less than a second. Okay, so what do you mean by response time? Response time in the sense when a user gives any particular command, how much time does it take to reflect? So that is called as response time. Say for example, if you are moving the mouse, then the instant at which you move the mouse, you want the mouse cursor to be moved in the screen. Okay, if it is not moving, you won't feel happy. I mean, you'll not feel satisfied with the performance of your computer. If you are moving the mouse cursor to the left, then you want instantaneously it should be moved to the left. Okay, so that here it says that the response time should be less than a second. say I'm typing something using keyboard A B C D like that. If I'm typing, the moment I type A B C D, I want to see in the monitor. Okay, say for example, if I type A B C D now, and if it appears after 10 seconds, then I will not be happy. Okay, so response time, in the sense, how much time does it takes for the processor to respond for a particular command given by a user through any of the input device. Okay? Or if I move the mouse now, and if the mouse is moving after 10 seconds or 15 seconds, so that means that it has a very poor response time. So this time sharing system should have a response time of less than a second. Okay, and each user, and here see this system also, see the typical computer that we are using, all it comes under time sharing system. Okay, agreed. Because because the user may switch from one program to another program, so obviously accordingly the processor also should switch from, the CPU also should switch from one job to another job. But but in some cases, the time sharing system can also be shared among different users. Okay, say for example, you may have a server computer. Let us assume this is a server computer. You may have a server computer, and this computer may be accessed by multiple clients. Okay, this computer may be accessed by multiple clients, and say this is client 1. Okay, like that there may be 2 3 clients. Say there is another client, client 2. Okay, this is client 2, and there is another client, this is client 3. This is client 3. Okay, so these clients, so let us assume that these clients will not have any processor in their end. These clients, in a time sharing system, if it is used with a server, these clients are called as terminals. These clients are called as dummy terminals. So this is a terminal 1, this is terminal 2, and this is terminal 3. So what is a terminal? Terminals are devices without processor. They have input output device. They will have a monitor. Okay, this all these terminals will have a monitor, and also they will have keyboard. They will also have mouse, all those things. Okay, but these devices will not have any memory. These devices will not have uh, any processor. Okay, so what happens in the sense, but this may be executing one particular job, and this terminal may be executing another job, and this terminal may be executing another job. Okay, so for example, this user may be running a spreadsheet. Okay, at this point of time, and this user may be running an say a word processor. Okay, and this user may be running an .NET application. Okay, but all these 3 users were using one particular CPU, which is residing in the server. Okay, so there are 3 clients or 3 terminals, and they are running different programs. Client 1 is running a spreadsheet, client 2 is running a word, client 3 is running a .NET program, but they are using one single CPU, which is running in the server. So now the server, what it will do is, the server will the operating system running in this server will ensure that the CPU is switching between these jobs at a very faster rate. Okay, maybe CPU may execute this particular job, which is a spreadsheet, for 10 millisecond. Okay, and it may execute the second job, the word processor, for another 10 millisecond, and it may execute the .NET, say, for another 15 milliseconds. So like this, for every 10 millisecond or 15 millisecond, it will switch. So this switch is happening because of operating system. And suddenly, if a user gives an input, uh, then also the switch may happens. Okay, so basically, as it switches at a very faster rate, as the operating system ensures that the CPU is switching between these jobs in a very faster rate, the user will not feel that the particular CPU is time shared. So this concept is called as time sharing. So here you can see that processor is time shared among multiple jobs, but it is context switched at a very faster rate. So the user cannot feel, or the user cannot sense that it is being switched from one job to another job, because the rate at which the switch happens is a very faster rate. Okay, so here switching happens in two ways. Switching happens maybe because of user input, and also the operating system has its own routine of switching. This is the routine given by operating system. The job 1 10 millisecond, job 2 10 millisecond, and job 3 15 millisecond. So this is general routine. Say for example, job 3 is executing for first 5 milliseconds. Okay, it is executed only for first 5 milliseconds. Okay, but after that there is an IO operation in job 3. Then IO operation is normally, it will take more time, because IO means take input from user. So it means the program is asking some input from a user. So user has to read what input he has to give, and then he has to give input. So it may take 1 or 2 minutes. So 1 or 2 minutes is a huge time in terms of the computing time. So after 5 milliseconds, what happens in the sense, there is a IO operation. So now what will happen in the sense, uh, the operating system will automatically switch this CPU from this particular job to some other job. Okay, or or say for example it has executed 5 milliseconds. After that there is an IO operation comes, and meanwhile C2, this particular computer client 2, needs the processor immediately. It is giving it has pressed a key, and it wanted to reflect in the screen immediately. So then what will happen in that case? Also the operating system will switch the CPU immediately to client 2 or to terminal 2. Okay, so here switching happens either because of the default schedule of the operating system, or when an IO operation occurs the switching may happens, or if some of the client needs the processor immediately, because they gave an input, and they expect the input should be reflected immediately. In such cases also the switching happens. Okay, so this is how time sharing system works. Okay, and in some cases what happens in the sense, the amount of the size of the job or the size of the process that you want to keep it in memory, it may be very high in size, that in such a way that you may not have sufficient memory space. You may not have sufficient memory space to load the entire program. Okay, so if you don't have sufficient memory space to load the entire program, then what the operating system will do in the sense, so your main memory does not have that much capacity to load the entire program. In that case, the operating system will load a part of the program. Okay, say your program size is 1 GB, but currently you don't have 1 GB space in the main memory. Say you have only 700 MB space. So what the operating system will do in the sense, it will load only the first 500 MB of your particular program, and remaining 500 MB will be residing in the hard disk. Only 500 MB will be loaded into the main memory, and remaining part will be residing in the hard disk. So as long as the CPU want to access only the first 500 MB of the content, there is no issue, it can just access. But say for example from CPU there is an instruction is coming, and that demands some content which is beyond this 500 MB. So it is the CPU is now giving an instruction, and this instruction requires the content which is not available in this 500 MB. So if it is not available in this 500 MB, it should be available in the remaining content which is residing in the hard disk. Okay, now in such case what the operating system will do in the sense, operating system will do something called as swapping. Operating system will do something called as swapping. So what is meant by swapping? Swapping means operating system will move this 500 MB to the hard disk, and whatever the another part of the job, another 500 MB which is previously residing in the hard disk, now that will be brought back to the main memory. Okay, so this, and so that CPU can access whatever the content it desires. So this concept of swapping the content back and forth between CPU and hard disk is called as swapping. Okay, and there is a very interesting and advanced concept which is called as virtual memory. So what does it mean by virtual memory? Virtual memory, in the sense, see generally, actually virtual memory and swapping are related concepts. So in original days, or in conventional programming, you can load a program into memory only if you have appropriate size, only if you have appropriate capacity in the main memory. Otherwise you cannot load that particular program. Okay, so it is as simple as that. Okay, say for example, I have only 1 GB free memory space, in the sense you can load any program which is less than 1 GB. You cannot program a program, you cannot load a program which is greater than 1 GB. Okay, so that is what conventional style of computing says. But today that is not the case. Because of the advent of the concept virtual memory, because of the advent of the concept virtual memory, you can load any program into memory irrespective of its size. Even you may not have sufficient capacity in the memory, still the program can be loaded. How? How, in the sense, as we already discussed, say for example, you want to load a 3 GB program into main memory. But assume that the RAM has only 1 GB free. So 3 GB memory, the program size is 3 GB, that should be loaded into memory, but the RAM size is only 1 GB. Okay. Now what the operating system do, in the sense operating system will do something called as abstraction. Operating system will use a technique called as abstraction. Okay, so what is meant by abstraction, in the sense it provides a memory called as logical memory. So this logical memory is a abstract view for the user. This logical memory is a abstract view for the user. Okay, so your physical memory, in the sense main memory, the real memory, the actual physical memory has only 1 GB space. So the first 1 GB of the program will be loaded into main memory. The first 1 GB of the program will be loaded into main memory, and the remaining 2 GB, will reside in the hard disk. So only 1 GB is loaded in the memory, and remaining 2 GB is in the hard disk. But this is known to whom? This is known only to operating system. This is known only to operating system. Okay, the user program does not know this, because for the user, operating system will give a view. For the user, operating system will give a view as if the entire 3 GB content is loaded into the memory. Okay, so operating system will give a view that as if the entire 3 GB content is moved into main memory. So this concept is called as logical memory. This concept is called as logical memory. Why it is called as logical memory? Because in reality, you don't have that much memory. Your memory capacity itself is 1 GB, and already it is fully occupied. But you are not telling this to the user. As you are not informing to the user, and you are providing a different what do you call, different view in front of user, it is called as abstraction. Okay, so it is called as abstraction. So user feels as if the entire 3 GB program is moved into memory, and some addressing will be given for this 0 to 3 GB. The addressing also will be given. Okay, but the real addressing will be different. So this real addressing is called as physical addressing, whereas this addressing is called as logical addressing. Okay. So whenever user wants some part of the program to be referred, whenever user wants some part of the program to be referred, he use logical addressing. Using logical addressing, he try to access. What the operating system will do is operating system will convert the logical address to physical address, and it will check whether that content is really in the main memory or not. If it is in the main memory, it will give it to the processor. If it is not in the main memory, then obviously it should be residing in the disk. Then it will do swapping. Okay. So this concept is called as virtual memory. So as you are providing a logical view in front of the user that we are having a unlimited memory space, we can load any program. Okay, so we are providing such a logical view to the user, and what is the real complexity that is hidden from the user. Because of this nature, it is called as virtual memory. Okay, so we are just discussing an overview of virtual memory here. We will discuss in detail about virtual memory later in our other discussions, or further we'll be having a separate topic on virtual memory. Okay, so this is about multi-programming and time sharing system. So I think you got idea. So basically, both multi-programming and time-sharing systems has multiple programs in memory, and it will be executed. Whereas in a multi-programming system, what happens in the sense, the switching from one program to uh, one process to another process will be decided by the operating system, and switching will happen only when there is an IO operation. Whereas in a time sharing system, the switching, it is a highly interactive system. The switching, most of the time, it happens because of the user interaction. Okay, here also the operating system will define a general switching philosophy, like how much time each program should be executed. But beyond that, depending on user input or IO operation, also the switching will take place. Okay, and then we have discussed about swapping, and also we have discussed what is meant by virtual memory. Okay, so this diagram basically shows a view of a memory. Okay, you can see this is a main memory. The size of the main memory is 512 MB. Okay, that is 512 MB is half GB, zero point 0.5 GB. So you can see the memory is divided into several parts. At one part, operating system is residing, and then it has multiple jobs: job 1, job 2, job 3. Okay, here you will have CPU. Here you will have CPU. So a typical computer has only one CPU, and CPU may execute any one of the jobs. So if you take a time sharing system, it may execute job 1 for 10 milliseconds, and then it may switch to job 2, and it may execute job 2 for another 10 milliseconds, and then it may execute job 3 for another 10 milliseconds, and then it may execute job 4 for another 5 milliseconds or 10 milliseconds. Okay, so this is how a typical memory looks like. Okay, this is the memory layout of memory in a multi-programming system, because each job is one program or a process. So process is a program under execution. Okay, fine. Let us stop here. Thank you.